have about 1.5 hours. We want to celebrate the new developments and present to you what it entails. We are very proud of it. We realize that there may still be some imperfections, and while we very much welcome your questions, we won't have time to go into in-depth discussions on each and every specific feature. But from here onwards, we will collect your feedback in what works well, what could be improved, what you would like to see next, so we can assess these and prioritize for the next developments and improvements. For this, we have a dedicated functional mailbox, which one of our colleagues will share in the chat box. Or you can always fill in the EMODnet survey that you can do anytime. It's available through the central portal. So let's have a look at the program. So we'll dig straight into it. So after the welcome, I will say a few introductory words about EMODnet for those of you who are less familiar with our network and service, and then hand over to Conor Delaney and Bart van Hoorn, who will present the EMODnet central portal features. And then we'll have a round table with the thematic coordinators moderated by Kate Larkin from the Secretariat on the advantages for users. And then we'll conclude this session and look forward to meeting you in our next events, which will be the Open CLAB Hackathon, which we are organizing in March, and our Open Conference later in November this year. So on this note, it is my great pleasure to hand over the floor to Zoe Constantinou from the European Commission Director General for Maritime Affairs and Fisheries. Please, Zoe, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jan Bart. Thank you, everybody, for being here today to indeed this celebrational webinar for the European Marine Observation and Data Network. I want to bring a little bit the perspective of the Director General of Maritime Affairs and Fisheries for this. EMODnet is a cornerstone of the work of DG Mare, and it's a priority and an investment towards marine knowledge, complete marine knowledge, detailed marine knowledge that can provide input for policy, for research, for innovation, for protection of the marine environment, and for the development of the blue economy. This has happened in a structured manner for more than 10 years now, and today, well, from the beginning of the centralization, we mark a new era, an era where our work came together, and the work of, when I say work, I mean the EMODnet work, I feel also part of the network, came together to feel the challenges of the future, to be ready for the challenges of the future. We are a step closer to easier and more direct access to data, to more complete standards, to better interoperability. We have in many ways with EMODnet opened the way in sharing of marine data really in Europe and beyond. EMODnet has a role to play in the international landscape regarding better and more interoperable access to observation and data of the marine environment. And it has also a very big role to play in the future policy and other developments that are going to lead the more sustainable marine environment, in optimizing the way that we operate in the marine environment. And this comes from activities in the mission ocean, for instance. It comes with the development of the digital twin of the ocean, where EMODnet is going to be one of the cornerstones. It will reflect in the work that is related with the European data spaces, where EMODnet is an example, a good practice example, that brought together a variant community with multiple different kinds of data together. So we lead the way in this, and I am very proud to be part of this network and represent Jimare in this development. And I'm very happy that we can today share with you this new development and see how we can evolve it even better in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe, and thank you, Digimare, for their continuous support and guidance. It's been a true collaboration across the network, and that's really the value, as I hope that I will be able to show you in a very, very brief introductory presentation now as we proceed. As we were looking at the registrations, we realized that we have a very diverse audience today. Some of you involved in the network, but also many less familiar and maybe less connected. So we decided to start with a very, very high-level introductory overview of the European Marine Observation and Data Network, who we are, what we do, how we got here, and what's next. So who are we? Simply put, in 2 words, EMODnet is in essence 2 things: a network and a data service. The network and partnership are, of course, essential to deliver the services that we've built over the years, and which have now reached a new step and a new level and a new stage. And we're very happy to present this to you. So, as a network, EMODnet is a partnership of more than 120 organizations, which are working together to locate hidden locked data sets scattered and stored in a myriad of data repositories and locations across Europe and beyond, to assemble and harmonize them and make them easy to find, easy to retrieve, and reuse. Plus, on top of that, we develop a set of core data products which are of relevance for a very broad community and not always possible to be made by one particular organization on its own. So we are an EU operational in situ marine data service that enables free and unrestricted access to in situ marine data and data products, and as a key contributor to the marine data space in Europe and beyond. We do that by sharing, making discoverable, and reusing the digital data cost effectively. We are building on established human and technical networks that were partly already existing before EMODnet did. And we do that in order to serve the needs of all marine and maritime sectors as a critical marine service supporting the Green Deal, the digital agenda, envisaged transitions in Europe and globally. So we also promote through our network activities the fair and open data principles, and are connecting to European and global partners. So we have 7 EMODnet thematic domains, from seafloor to surface, really. Hundreds of data providers providing harmonized, standardized, and integrated data sets. We have now one central portal, which always existed, but before we had 7 thematic portals, which were standalone. And this is, I believe, a great improvement for the user as we go forward. Very briefly looking back, we have a long history. The concept and the term for EMODnet was first mentioned, I believe, in 2006 in the context of the development of the integrated maritime policy by the European Commission, by the Director General for Maritime Affairs and Fisheries, but very much fueled by a shared community vision for EMODnet to be an end-to-end integrated, interoperable, and user-oriented framework of European marine observations and data systems. And over the years, we've been working along that concept to change the fragmented landscape, data sharing landscape that existed, to work towards an interoperable sharing framework, using, or very much using the, building on the philosophy that data should be collected once and then used many, many times for many different purposes. We've developed from a concept the last 10 years into a series of prototype data portals with limited sea basin, European sea basin coverage, to now a full-fledged operational service. And we've done that by the support and with guidance from the European Commission under its Marine Knowledge 2020 strategy. Some results of what we can achieve when we work together across borders, across countries, and across thematics. We have a few very iconic data products. We have a lot of products actually, which we won't have time to present to you all in the scope of this webinar. But I just wanted to show you a flavor. We have with the human activities, the vessel density maps, which are very much used. The seabed habitats is producing the broad scale seabed habitat maps in the CMAP. We have the bathymetry, which is always improving its digital bathymetry of the European seas. We'll also have an EMODnet world base layer, which is very much used by many, many different communities. And what I wanted to show you mainly is in the upper right corner, you have a QR code to our data and data products portfolio. If you are interested, please have a look to all that we have to offer. Just to rest you assured, we will share these presentations afterwards, so you'll have time to go through it again and find these resources. In the same vein, just to show you that there is a very broad range of use cases already that can give you an indication of how EMODnet data and products have been used by various communities in the past for very different applications, from industry to public services, spatial planning, environmental assessment, etc. So please do have a look on our website. We have a catalog of use cases, and we're always looking for more. So if you have interesting showcases where you've been using and combining EMODnet data resources with others, we'll be very happy to hear about it. Obviously, we cannot do this on our own. We very much work in close partnership with a very broad range of European organizations and network. And this is to give you a bit of a flavor of organizations that we are working with, from marine research infrastructures all the way to the regional sea conventions and other organizations. We also have an interesting scheme, which is called the EMODnet Associated Partnership Scheme, where people or organizations, and in many cases, these are private sector entities that are interested to collaborate, learn from us, contribute data, but also gain insight from how we deal with the different data interoperability challenges that we are facing. And they are becoming associated partners, and we have many. I may want to pick out one, Fugro, that we're working with quite intensely in the past, but now also in the context of the UN Decade for Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, which recently set up a corporate data group under the UN Decade, which will help to work with different companies to make available, unlock the industry data sets for the scientific community. And that's really something that's very close to our mission as well in Europe. So I'm happy to support that. So many different organizations, and increasingly working together with global bodies to make our data resources also available to the broader community, and also contributing to the Decade of Ocean Science. Now, we are entering a new phase as a fully centralized service, and I'm not going to go into detail because that's the subject of our next presentation. Maybe I will spend a little bit of time to say a few words about what's next for us. So we will be working further to expand and diversify the EMODnet offer. We're constantly evolving. So we take on board, very much as a user-driven service, your feedback and indications of what you would like to see next. We work very much on expanding our collaboration and partnership with citizen science initiatives industry, and also with regions beyond Europe. We will further connect with actors across the marine knowledge value chain, including those working on the European and global ocean observation capacity. That's also very, very much close to our remit. We will continue to strengthen the strategic European partnerships, among others with the Copernicus Marine Service. And this is important because we want to make sure that our services are future fit for the EU marine data space, the European Green Deal space, the digital twin ocean and destination Earth. I think Zoe mentioned it before, but this is very important to us. And in connection to that, we're working very closely with our colleagues from Copernicus Marine Service to develop the European public infrastructure backbone to deliver and support the evolution towards the European digital twin ocean and the digital ocean knowledge system. As I mentioned, we are very much supportive of the European Commission and other initiatives that aim to improve the coordination and efficiency of the European ocean observing capacity and capability. This is very important because, of course, we cannot, as an open data service, we very much rely on what happens upstream. We're very dependent on the efficient collection of data in the right way that can flow through our system and that we can share it with the appropriate metadata and information associated with it. More downstream, we will continue to fuel and power the European Atlas of the Seas, which is an interactive learning tool from the European Commission, which is really largely, the content is largely provided by map layers developed by EMODnet. There is now new features, custom maps and print and embed tools, and we really invite you to go and check out this very interesting digital atlas online. It's available in 24 languages and really very interesting if you haven't yet explored it. So on that note, I would like to particularly thank the network service providers and implementers and data providers, because it's thanks to their relentless efforts that we were able to provide the service. We invite you to join us at any of our upcoming events. In particular, I would like to highlight the EMODnet Open Sea Lab Hackathon, which will take place from 6 to 24 of March, and then the final hackathon event itself, 27 and 28 of March. You can still register, I believe. So please, if you're interested, and spread the word. This is an opportunity to really play and test the new features and system, to combine it with other data resources. We do this also in collaboration with other organizations such as ICES and the Copernicus Marine Service colleagues. So please join us or spread the word. And we very much look forward to meeting with you in person in Brussels at the end of November at the EMODnet Open Conference. Really an opportunity to reflect on the achievements, but also look forward in the coming years how we can evolve jointly together. So on that note, I think I will hand over straight to you, Connor, for the presentation on the central portal features, capabilities, and uses. Connor, over to you.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. I am just going to give you a presentation on the key features of the new EMODnet Central Portal. I won't be diving deep into any of the data products. Hopefully, you'll get enough from this meeting to understand, to encourage you to explore more the features that are there. Of course, with any project, when one person giving a presentation, I'm standing on the shoulders of all my colleagues. Some of them are here in the room. We've worked really hard over the past 2 years to deliver a new centralized EMODnet. So thank you very much for listening to us today on these new features. So to give you some context, prior to this year, EMODnet existed as several different portals. Here we have the 7 thematic portals, which meant that there were 7 map viewers, 7 catalogs, and numerous ways to access the data and data products on those portals. Not all the same. So for the user, they had to move from portal to portal. And what our overriding goal in the unification of EMODnet was to provide users with one single point of access, or one single way to access the amazing products that our colleagues produce from the thematic groups. So we were worried that the technology barriers were discouraging the use of these products. So that's what I'm hoping to show you today. So through the course of these slides, I'm just basically going to show you how to navigate the EMODnet website. Now, please be rest assured, I'm not going to go through how to navigate a web page. It's just to show you where the key areas are for people who are interested in downloading data products, or finding out more about the data products, or finding out about the thematic lots. You will be able to see where the reports and technical reports are. You'll be able to find out more about the data products. You'll see more information about the thematic assembly groups, find out know how to find information on the web services. I will spend some time on the map viewer. I'm not going to do a live presentation, but I'll show you the key areas in the map viewer and you can work with it later. Introduce the catalog and mention something about the ERDAP server. So hopefully at the end of this presentation, you'll understand how to navigate through EMODnet and get access to data products and find out more about the thematic lots. Now, at the end of this presentation, my colleague Bart van Hoorn is going to give a presentation on the more technical aspects of how we did this and what tools we used, because I know that some people they're quite interested in doing that. But for this slide, I'm just going to be talking about how to work with the website. So the goal, as I said, was to eliminate all the different thematic websites or thematic portals into a unified them into one. So we wanted one EMODnet website, one map viewer, one catalog. We added a new feature, which is the ERDAP server. All the thematic portals are gone. Their web services, their data services still exist. They still are the subject matter experts on the products that they produce, and they produce those products which we consume and display in the central portal. And what we're striving for over time is consistency across all themes in the metadata, the file formats, the APIs for accessing the data products and data, and the web services. Now, this, as Jan Bart mentioned earlier on, there are still imperfections in this, and this will just iterate over time as new technologies come in, or we discover bugs, or we discover things that we need to fix. And I have at the end of this last slide information how you can give us feedback, but we'll come to that shortly. So if you see on the left-hand side of this slide, there is a drop-down menu that shows you the themes that had been 7 different portals. So now they're all collected together on the EMODnet website. And at the front page of the website, you can access things through the top menu, or you can also access at the bottom of the web page either the map viewer, the data products catalog, or the ERDAP server. So we've changed how EMODnet Central Portal worked. Before, it was much more a news feed. Now the data and data products are pushed up to the front, so that people are very close to interacting with these data products. Our goal was to have 1 or 2 clicks away from being able to be in a situation where you can start working with the data products and download. Now, just moving on, just show you here what I'm using our colleague, our chemistry thematic portal or thematic lots example here for the thematic web pages. So we worked very hard with the thematic lots to map their web content from their web portals onto the new page, onto Central Portal. And what we did then was also work very hard to make sure that each web page for a thematic lot had consistency in layout. So while I'm showing chemistry here, you'll find a similar layout for all the different lots. So they'll all have access to the map viewer and access to product catalog on the top of the page, and they'll all have a menu on the left-hand side of the page. And we worked really hard now to make sure that our colleagues were happy with the content that was in on their section of the website. And this is a constantly iterative process, so that whenever they need updates, these areas will be updated. And I invite you to explore these sections of the website to find out more about the thematic lots. So I'll go on and I'll show you another example of what we did during the mapping of the static web content from each of the lots to the new central portal. We also realized we had to bring across the reports. We had to centralize where the reports, these are the publicly available reports from EMODnet and community. So we created a section of the website where you can go and search and filter down to the reports. And these are reports that are could be update reports, or they could be guidelines, or they could be technical reports, but they're all contained here in this section. So rather than having to move around through thematic lots, you can all get things in one place. This gives you another example here of this mapping. We realized that all the information, or a lot of the information that was contained on all the separate portals, could be brought together in single spaces on the new EMODnet website. So on the left-hand side, we have a new space called Tools and Guidelines. And as you can see, the layout is very similar to the whole website with the navigation bar on the left-hand side. But we gathered here information on technical reports, links to other tools outside of EMODnet, information on things that you would need if you want to interact with the data formats or find out more about how products are built. Very technical focused, but all lots are brought their information here, and we're going to continue expanding on this. So in the future, if you're interested in finding out more about the technical side of how products are produced, this would be your first stop on the website. Now, clearly, some of these reports are also in the report section. So this is just us gathering stuff together in one spot. Now, on the right-hand side there, you have information on data and web services. I'm not going to go too much into the data and web services. EMODnet is built on web services, we're it's distributed spatial data infrastructure. So all the web services that we use are, the endpoints are listed here in this section, and you can go through this and use this in either other online GIS tools or in mapping services or your desktop GIS systems. So please feel free to go and have a look through this. Now, in line with the EMODnet, with the web services, as part of our quality control package, we also have a dashboard on the uptime of the web services. The link is down there at the bottom of the page, but also it's in the top menu of data and services of the website. You can go to the monitoring tool to see the status of the web services, how reliable they are, what are their uptimes, or if you think that a web service is not working, you can check and see where it is here, if it is active here. So, I mean, one of the things that we're really striving here is to be consistent and provide consistent, reliable services so that people can rely on what we're providing in their workflows. So I'm just going to now move on to the map viewer. Now I say map viewer because this is a data discovery and download service. It's not a geographical information services. For those people who are aware of geographical information systems, you cannot do analysis. This is purely a way to visually find data that you're interested in and then download it. Now I've put up, for those of you who are GIS familiar, all these buttons will be very familiar to you already, but for the rest of you, I'm just going to quickly go through these so that you can understand what they are. So on the left-hand side, on the top, we have expand layers. You click on that button and it will give you a list of all the layers that are available. I'll show this in later slides. Each layer has a legend. So when you display a layer, you can switch on the legend in the map. There's a subset and download button, which I'll explain later. And this allows you to draw a box on the map and subset a data set and download that data set. And then we have map settings, we're in generic map settings for all the different layers. On the right-hand side, we have a zoom control. Default extent brings you to the default extent of the map. Zoom to layers extent zooms the map to the extent of the map layer that you have displayed. You can toggle the full screen. You can zoom to my location. If you click on that, you'll be asked to permit that by your web browser. That will zoom to your location according to your IP address. You can change the map to a 3D. This is a globe representation. So if you click to change to 3D, some of the layers are available on a globe, and you can interact with the globe. You're also able to measure the distance on the map. You're also able to print whatever you have on the screen to a PDF or a PNG image for use later, or you can share your map link. So you could have many different layers available here, and then you generate a URL which you can share with other people, and they can then use that to navigate to this website and see what you've been looking at. So as I said earlier, if you're a GIS person, this is very familiar to you, but for non-GIS people, I just thought I would quickly go over this to help you out in understanding. So diving straight in, I'm going to have a look here at EMODnet bathymetry. So as I mentioned, these slides I'm presenting here are to give you an overview of how to use the map viewer to access data products, but I'm not going to do every single thematic group. I'm only going to do the difference, what's different between thematic groups. We've tried to have a very unified way to access the data products and download the products across the thematic groups, but there are some variations between them. So I'm presenting here these variations, and that when you come to use the website, should be able to figure out which one is the one you need to use. So for EMODnet bathymetry here, on the left-hand side, you can see how I've opened up EMODnet bathymetry layer. That's by clicking on the layers button at the top. And then you can see on the third button down is the download, subset and download button. And in the list of layers, I've switched on the mean depth and multicolor no land. And so that you're seeing now is off the coast of Ireland. And you are looking at the digital terrain model that we've produced based on the data coming out of the surveys coming out of Ireland. And on the right-hand side, you can see a button that says click here. Now I've already clicked on that button and I've drawn a box on the screen. And then I'm given the option to download what's in that box. And I've chosen a format called NetCDF. So what would happen then is I would click on the download button on the right-hand side of the screen, and the contents of that box will be downloaded to my computer, and I can work on that to my own time later. Now, just on a heads up on this, for EMODnet bathymetry, it's a very large file, and the technology that we use here restricts you to a 2 GB file size for downloading NetCDF files. So if you hit that barrier, you'll get a message telling you that you've hit that barrier, and you just need to reduce the size of your box. You can actually download the full NetCDF of the total European digital terrain model in a separate tool, but I'll mention that later. And also, what we're doing here, we took these. If you've used EMODnet bathymetry before, you would remember that EMODnet bathymetry had 64 tiles, separate tiles that you would download individually. We took those tiles and we unified them into one single tile for the whole European Sea area. And what you're seeing here is a tool that allows you to subset that tile. Now, we also have the 64 tiles system that existed in the old EMODnet bathymetry portal. This is at the request of our colleagues in EMODnet bathymetry, because they had a lot of people using this system. So what in this case, you would just switch on the tile, the DTM tiles layer on the left-hand side there, you can see it, and it will impose a grid on the map, and then you would click on the grid and it will give you an option to download that tile in a number of different formats, which you can see in that window on the bottom right-hand side. So you have a number of different ways of accessing this data product, and that is true across many of the different data products across the thematic areas. So I'm going to show you a few more options here so that you can get an insight on this. This is EMODnet biology. I'm going to spend some time talking about what's going on here because it looks very busy, but there's actually quite a few things happening here to help you drill down to what it is you're looking for. So first of all, what I've done is switched on the database of observations in marine observations. And on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, sorry, I have switched on the legend that gives you an indication of the occurrences of animals at sea or species at sea. So what I'm interested here is drilling down to a particular species. So when you open up a layer on the right-hand side on the map viewer, you will see on the right-hand side with some of them, there's a little filter icon. And when you a layer with a filter icon, when you display it, you can switch on a filter function, which is you see is the box in the middle of the screen at the bottom. So in this filter layers function, I typed in the taxon name for the orca, the killer whale, and that filters the data set to just show orca information for Europe. So I'm also able to click on in the individual dots to see how much what the record count for orcas at that spot are, according to the data set. So in the small box, in the box to the right there, you see that there was in the square that I had clicked on, there was a record count of 1. But I can also download a subset of the greater data sets, which I did in the same way I had done with the bathymetry DTM. I clicked the download button on the left, and then I went over to the right and I clicked on the yellow click here button, and I drew a box on the screen, and that gave me the option to download a CSV. So when you download that CSV to your computer, you can open it up in Excel, and it will give you much more information than what you get from just clicking on the map. So in that CSV, it will give you the in all the observations in that area of that box that I've drawn, plus the dates of the observations and other things like who made the observations, etc. So what you see on the map when you click on things is just a sort of a taster to what you can get when you go into the data products and download them themselves. And it's there to help you make the decisions about what data products you need to use or that you're interested in. So on a third way of accessing data products is a direct download. So our colleagues in Seabait Habitats requested that some of their products should be available as a direct download. Now on the left-hand side, you see I've switched on the EUC map 2021, and you can see it has a little filter beside it. So if I switch over to layers, I can filter on habitat type, but I don't want to do that in this case. If I click on the I button, I will get information on this layer, which includes a button to access the metadata on the layer, but it also gives me a button where I can download the full product, the full EUC map 2021. So this is quite a large product, and it's really designed for use on a desktop GIS. So you've now seen 3 separate ways to access the data products, and everything else with all the other lots is a variation of these. So hopefully that will give you enough information to help you navigate through the website and use the data products. So we also have a new central catalog. Each of our colleagues, each of our thematic lots, they all publish catalogs, which we then harvest into one catalog. And in these catalogs, you will get a lot more information on the data products. The products that you see in the map viewer are only a subset of the products that are available. There are many, many more products in the catalog. We had to be discerning as to what we could show in the map viewer, because it would have been just too much for people to make sense of. But if you go into the map viewer to the layers and drop down to the bottom, you'll see that there's a button that says Add External Map or Add External Layer. Now, if you go into the products catalog and you open up a product that has an endpoint for a web mapping service, you can copy that endpoint, go back to the map, and view this data product on the map along with the other products. So these products, the great range of products are there for people to also visualize where possible in the map viewer. But there's also information in the products and how you can access them directly through web services or through download services. We are also, it's also a work in progress for the Central Portal technical team. We're working with our colleagues in the thematic lots to improve the metadata, which, and by that I mean to standardize how things are presented across all the different lots. And that's working very well, and we will be working on that on a constant basis. So the third component I've mentioned here in terms of technologies with a technology called ERDAP. And ERDAP provides an API, a programmable API to gridded data sets. We use it for displaying data sets or downloading data sets, gridded data sets through the map layer. It's a technology that you're seeing at the moment here. You're seeing the catalog that you can see things like you can have a WMS, you can make a graph. It gives you information of that gridded data in the title. There's metadata available, and there's a list of the institution that produced it. But on the far right-hand side, and I mentioned this to anybody who's involved in application development on the web, there's a dataset ID, and that dataset ID is permanent for that data set when it's in this ERDAP server. So you can program against that dataset ID. I will show you briefly on the next page. I don't want to dive into it, but I just want to try to give you enough information that you can take away with you after the meeting and experiment. So here, if we go from the catalog to this particular web page on the ERDAP server, this is a human interface to a machine to machine API. It allows you to construct a URL, which you see at the bottom of the page, the very last section says or view the URL. It allows you to construct a URL that creates a link to the data product on the ERDAP server, which is also, many of which are also in the map viewer, that you can code against, i.e. you can send in parameters on the area, the space you want, like the latitude and longitude, or you can change the file type, or you can change time, or etc. So this is a way of doing this, and I encourage you to experiment with this, because this is a technology that's been used by marine data centers all around the globe. So it's a very useful tool to use. So finally, I'm just going to talk about feedback. Feedback is essential for us. It helps us build a better service. Now, on the main web page, on the web page of EMODnet, down in the footer, you will see a contact information button. If you click on that, it asks you to send a message to the Secretariat. So you will end up emailing the email address I have it down at the bottom, the secretariat@emodnet.ec.europa.eu. Feel free to do that, even if it's technical or if you're reporting errors, because we monitor that, and then we send the email messages to whoever we think is appropriate. So it may be a question on biology or geology or chemistry or human activities, and we will reroute that question to the subject matter expert on your behalf, and they will get in contact with you. So please feel free to use that email address. We also have a survey called, which is a permanent online survey on the map viewer. So if you want to give more detailed feedback, I suggest you use that. It's very, very helpful. And you can, it'll always be there. And that's about it. I just have one more thing. Earlier on, Jan Bart mentioned the Maritime Atlas, and I just want to bring it up again. So EMODnet Central Portal and the EMODnet Map Viewer and the products catalog and the ERDAP catalog, they're very much focused on providing data products for subject matter experts and data scientists to use. The Atlas uses a lot of these products to provide information. So if you're really looking for information about what's happening in the marine environment or the marine space, and I encourage you to have a look there. Whereas it's aimed at a different audience, but a lot of it's based on the same data and data products. So that's all I have for you all now. Thank you very much. I'm going to hand over to my colleague.
Maybe we can have just a very quick reflection on questions that were put in the chat. There is one question from Catherine Chabot. Maybe please, guests, if you could also indicate your affiliation, where you're from. That would be useful for us in terms of the reporting and coming back to you. So in terms of the coverage, EMODnet is constantly evolving and expanding its coverage. Some of the thematic lots already have a global coverage for some of their data sets and products. I mentioned the EMODnet world-based layer from bathymetry. Also, the physics and the biology portals are having several platforms or data from platforms or either data sets with a global remit, and also contribute to global initiatives already, such as the Ocean Biodiversity Information System, OBIS. And we are also constantly expanding the coverage from the European sea basins. So under this current cycle, the lots are working to expand the coverage to the Caspian seas and the Caribbean. But we have a roundtable following this with the thematic coordinators who can maybe, if they want, explore a little bit more what exactly they are providing in terms of global dimensions and the outermost regions. And then there is another question from Lender Dorst on registering data sets from EMODnet to the European data portal, and I believe we've done that in the past. And I think Tim Collard from the Secretariat will also answer you in the chat box. So Bart, over to you, please.
Okay, so I'll try to be very, very quick because of the timing. The technical architecture of the central portal, in line with the question and answer that will follow, I'll give a very, very short overview on how we did decentralization. So as an introduction, we have focused on standard technologies, being the Open Geospatial Consortium, OGC, web services, for vector data and products. For raster data, as Connor mentioned already, we are using the ERDAP standard. And for metadata, we are working towards the Inspire directory from the Commission. Also, as Connor said before, each lot stays responsible for their data, their metadata, and their products, because they are the subject matter experts. So that keeps on being developed by the lots. We, as a central portal, we just ingest the data and the products. For the map viewer, we have been using the bathymetry map viewer. We started from that source code based, and we extended that to the functionalities from all the different lots. We have been trying to do that as much as possible, but there is, of course, a minority of functionalities that still need to implement it because they are very focused on one specific lot. But we will do that, of course, in the future. So the web services, they are being transferred to the central portal, but a number of web services are still running on the lots portals or on the lots APIs, as it should be. But eventually, we want to have them on the central portal, bringing on the central portal infrastructure. As also told by Connor, we are monitoring the uptime uptime of those web services, both of the central one and the web services from the lots. And we are also looking into the content of those web services, if they are really, if they do really represent what we want them to represent. This is the infrastructure that we have been building. So we start from the right-hand side, where we have each lot providing a number of services via standard software packages. For the metadata, we are using the GeoNetwork software. Each lot has an installation there, and we are harvesting them into the central GeoNetwork instance. For the data and the products, we have two types of data. We have vector data, we have raster data. If a lot has raster data, they are usually using the combination of PostGIS and GeoServer to publish that vector data. And from that vector data, there is two processes. One process is where we synchronize with the central portal, PostGIS server, and then publish it on the central portal. That is eventually the process we want to have achieved for all the lots. But for a number of lots, there is still in place web services hosted by the lots themselves, and that is the second GeoServer instance on the right-hand side, where the GeoServer of the lot is providing the web service directly to the central portal view. And at the bottom of each EMODnet lot, we have the raster types, where we have RDAP, threads, FTP, and a number of other protocols. All these are being synchronized to the central portal RDAP instance, and they serve as an REST API to download and subset the data on the central portal. So I think we now looked at each lot. For each lot, we have the same, more or less the same architecture, GeoNetwork, GeoServer, and RDAP on the central system. There is a synchronization in place, and there is a management interface that controls all of these different layers, which is called MetaHIS, where we manage how the layer is displayed, what filtering options is there, and so on. So all this together is visible on the map viewer that Connor has just been presenting. The second part is the metadata search, as also Connor has been showing, is the GeoNetwork search on the central GeoNetwork instance. So those things are both things that humans usually use, and then there is also the machine counterpart. So all of these, both the viewer and the metadata, has machine variants. So they have API documentation, they all have a client package. It's both for the data and the metadata. It's openly published on GitHub. And a very short slide, this is the infrastructure of the central port. And then for the future, we want to work further on this and improve it a lot, of course. So as I mentioned, we want to add all the functionalities from the different lots. We want to have all the web services central. We want to extend data types. Most of the time we can do that via the EMODnet ingestion lot, which is a separate lot which serves as ingesting data existing data types or new data types into one of the lots web services. And eventually, as Jan Bart also mentioned, we want to connect to the European digital twin of the ocean infrastructure, which will make the EMODnet data cloud ready. By cloud ready, we mean you don't need to download the whole data set to quickly have a subset or a slice of the data on your either computer or in the cloud or on a HPC environment. We will also provide pre-configured clients, Python, notebooks, and so on. Voila, very quickly.
Thank you, Bert.
Back to
Thank you, Bert. I think that's a very useful complement to show also for the technical people online what is behind all of this and what it involved. It was really a tremendous work. We've seen that from up close with a distributed network of experts. So really, congratulations to the technical teams for this really extremely strong achievement. So I really would like to congratulate all of you for that. And we also mentioned two elements which are interesting to highlight the fact that we're not only offering a service, of course, for users, for those who develop new added value products and services, marine knowledge generators and consumers, but also for data providers. The ingestion facility, which includes more than 60 data centers and organizations which have the expertise to assist those who collect data, but don't really have the capacity or knowledge to share it, to guide them and to make sure that those locked or hidden data resources become available. So thanks a lot for this comprehensive overview, and I think we'll have other opportunities to showcase a bit more, especially in the framework of the Open Sea Lab Hackathon, where there will be coaches and mentors from the network helping participants to access the resources and develop their own interesting applications. And I'm really looking forward to what new innovative solutions people will come up with based on our new services. So thanks a lot, Bart, Connor, for presenting. There were some questions in the chat which I think the colleagues are already answering. So in the interest of time, I would like to move on to the next session, and we'll give the floor to Kate Larkin from the EMODnet Secretariat for the roundtable on the EMODnet centralization with the thematic coordinators, which will focus also on advantages for users from their perspective. And of course, if you want to reflect as well on the global coverage and how your endeavors will continue, because this will really not will not end your activities. On the contrary, you will focus much more on your core expertise is developing or unlocking the data, but also developing new data products. So please, the floor is yours, Kate.
Thank you very much, Jan-Bart. So I would invite all of the panelists for this roundtable to turn on your video and be ready to speak. We're now going to move to this roundtable that brings together the coordinators and representatives of the 7 EMODnet thematics to provide perspectives at the thematic level of the recent changes and upgrades to the thematic data and data product access and features, also some of the advantages of the unification of the services and how this will continue to evolve. That's important to note that centralization is a milestone, but it obviously the services will continue to evolve towards fit for use services in the future. I'd like to just note as well that the EMODnet data ingestion service is the last component of the service which will be centralized, and that will be done during the course of this year. And for this reason, we won't focus in this session on the data provision and the ingestion of data into EMODnet, but rather on the user side and the upgraded user interface, the single portal that has been demonstrated, the features and the functionalities delivering the EMODnet thematic data and web services. So in the interest of time, because time is quite short, I'm going to go straight to the introduction of all the panelists for this roundtable, and then please, panelists, prepare to shorten your intervention by at least a minute. So I'd like to introduce Helen Woods from JNCC of the UK from EMODnet Seabed Habitats, Henry Vallius of GTK Finland from EMODnet Geology, Alessandro Giorgetti from OGS Italy for EMODnet Chemistry, George Spoelstra from GGSCG, the Netherlands, from EMODnet Bathymetry, Antonio Novellino of ETT Italy for EMODnet Physics, Joanna Beja from Vliz, Belgium for EMODnet Biology, and Alessandro Petito from Cogia, Italy for EMODnet Human Activities. So I'd like to each give you the floor in that order. And it would be great in your intervention if you could perhaps reflect a little bit from your perspective on a key challenge that your thematic faced, because there were challenges, of course, at the technical and other aspects in the centralization process, but how you also as a community overcame this and found solutions for the services that we see today, and possibly reflect on the main advantages from your perspective for the user that they now have. So first I'll give the floor to Helen for maximum 3 minutes.
Okay, thanks, Kate. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. So I'll start with the biggest challenge that I see that we had for seabed habitats during the centralization, which is something Connor touched on earlier, actually. It's really around the amount of data we have and finding that right balance between data discoverability and the actual user experience. So I'm thinking particularly around the map viewer on the central portal and the data layers that we've chosen to display for seabed habitats. So when moving our content onto the central portal, it very quickly became apparent that if we were to add all the data that we have, that it wouldn't be in the best interest of the user. As Connor mentioned, it would have been quite overwhelming and potentially confusing with so many layers, which would have just made it really difficult for users to navigate and to find what they're actually looking for. So instead, we focused on working with the central portal team to prioritize the layers to display. So considering user feedback, information about datasets that people were downloading and accessing via our web services, to just inform the key layers that we wanted to add to the viewer initially. And as I say, all the seabed habitats data is still accessible via the web services. We haven't lost anything. And the central portal team have done a really excellent job of signposting the services on the data and web services page, and also making sure that the data sets and products that we have are still discoverable via the product catalogue. So hopefully we've got the balance right, but we're very open to feedback. So please do send it to us via the central portal feedback contact us form, so that we can continue to refine things to work towards the best user experience that we can and making the most of the data we hold. In terms of the advantages of centralization, it's already been mentioned that it's obviously much easier for users to find all the data, tools and guidance and reports they need in one place, which is just really amazing. And for seabed habitats, our broad scale predictive habitat map for Europe EU CMAP is created using data from multiple themes. So obviously seabed habitats data, but also bathymetry data and substrate data from EMODnet geology. So having all the data sets in the same viewer means it's much easier for users to see the building blocks that have gone into creating that product, and it gives a better general understanding of the data product as a whole. Some other key advantages I'll just highlight really quickly, stop me if I run out of time. I'll relate to the enhanced functionality of the viewer. So Connor mentioned about the ability to subset and download data from the map layers on the portal. And that's a really great improvement, definitely will benefit users. It's not something we had available in seabed habitats. And so it's something we can look to try and implement to make it more standardized with the other themes going forward, if we can. And also some of the layer animation functionality, I don't think we showed that before, but it's on some of the chemistry layers. And it's really interesting, and it's not something that we'd considered before for seabed habitats, but it's definitely functionality that I think would be really useful for some of our data sets with that time element. So yeah, to conclude, great opportunity for collaboration, knowledge sharing across themes, and really just spark new ideas to make the most of the amazing resource that we have available.
Great, thank you very much, Helen. And that also shows the advantages across the different thematics, indeed, that you can learn from the experiences and the new features of others. So I'll pass the floor now to Henry Vallius for geology, please.
Thank you very much, Kate. Can you hear me? Very good.
Yes.
So yes, hello everybody. This is a very short note from EMODnet geology on this centralization of the services. EMODnet geology has been a part of the EMODnet family since the beginning. That's almost 15 years by now. And we have been working on our data products since that. So now when all the thematic groups were centralized into the same portal, we hope that you will get an even better experience. That's the meaning with it all. But for those of you who were used to our old geology web portal, there are now some changes in how you can reach our data products in a way that best suits you. So when we got into the centralization, we had to merge some of our data layers into layer groups because we simply had too many layers to cope with. This caused some troubles for us, of course, but now when our products are centralized, all the same layers can still be accessed, but in a different way than before. So when you earlier accessed, for example, our specific variables or a layer in a specific scale, these are now grouped together in a slightly varying way depending on parameter. However, this is not a problem in the new central portal, since you can access the different parameters or scales by filtering the layer group, as Connor explained here a little bit earlier. And you can choose as many scales or parameters as you want. the chosen data can be viewed on the page, have a screenshot of it, or the chosen layers from the selected area can be downloaded. Obviously, you can also combine our geological products with any other of the EMODnet thematic products on the portal, which hopefully makes the visit to the EMODnet portal even better user experience. So we therefore encourage you to visit our portal and test how it works now. However, development doesn't stop here. We are continuously working on improvement of our data products, and we try to take into account any needs that users of our products might have, but it's not always easy to figure out which properties are useful for the users and which could be further improved. Therefore, we are happy for any feedback now in the chat or later by contacting us through the portal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Henry. And as you've just mentioned, please do add your questions. We may not have time to go live for questions today, but we will make sure these are answered. We may also go over time by 10 minutes because we want to give each of the coordinators, of course, the floor and have time for the wrap up. So now I pass the floor to Alessandra Giorgetti for chemistry, please.
Good afternoon, all. Yes, even from chemistry side, well, I would have to say that the key challenge was to integrate the high number of data layers that we produce, because in general we have several interpolated distribution map of the main nutrients like nitrate, phosphate, silicate, but also oxygen, chlorophyll. So all these maps are computed with different spatial and temporal resolution on the vertical and the horizontal, and these are complemented with contaminants maps that contributes to the evaluation of data quality and data adequacy for environmental quality assessment. These are computed for 10 selected substances, and this is also complemented with spatial distribution, composition, and abundance of beach and seafloor litter, divided into macro categories depending on the type of data which are there. So to identify the key layers and try to integrate the information, that was a big challenge. And we had to try to keep the scientific value of the information which are posted without losing and merging the data without losing the information. So this was for, in our case, the main challenge. If we look at the advantage, as the other already pointed out, to have all the data products accessible from a single portal is indeed a great advantage. It was already showed, and this will be also underlined by the scientific community, which is looking and using the data. We had an example already at the EMODnet Open Conference in June 2021. Marina Lipiter showed us an example in the North Adriatic for the marl beds that combining multidisciplinary interoperable EMODnet products. It was useful to support conservation and management of Mediterranean sensitive habitats. So this will be, with time, we will have more and more examples on how this integration gives advantages for the users.
Thank you very much, Alessandra. And it really, builds on the original principles or philosophy of EMODnet to collect once, use many times. Even before centralization or the unification, we had many uses that were completely different to the original purpose for the data collection effort. And now I believe we will see a lot more expansion of that now that all of the thematics are unified together. So thank you very much. We'll now pass to George Spoelstra from EMODnet Bathymetry, please.
Thank you, Kate. Hello, everybody. Great to see so many people online. Yes, the challenges for bathymetry. I've been with bathymetry since 2009, and we've created our website and our user base community since then. And when the Digimara mentioned that we would be centralizing all the thematic lots, that was a bit of a shock. It's like letting your baby go and giving it to somebody else, and nobody wants to do that, which was definitely true for bathymetry. But we were also very lucky. We were honored with being the first group the centralization team was going to work with. So we had the opportunity to steer them a little bit into the direction. But still, it's difficult. The website for bathymetry was built to do bathymetry, to share bathymetry with a user base, and bathymetry is specific, and so everything we did was optimized to bring that bathymetry to our user base. And now with the centralization, there's much more data that go through this central portal. So we had to do a few compromises on the way, but I think the result has been is wonderful, is very good. People that will go to the central portal and have been using the bathymetry website for a long time, they will see changes, they will see differences. Some of those changes are there because we were able in the old situation to do certain things that under the EU domain were no longer allowed. So we had to make changes there for technical reasons, but still I really encourage everybody to go and use the central portal and see how it works for you when accessing the bathymetry data. The other challenge we had was with the metadata. We as the bathymetry team find it extremely important to have every point accounted for in terms of metadata. And we were able to do that in our own environment in the old situation. And with the new central portal, we had to use harvesting technologies to get the metadata that was stored on our own servers to be accessible through the central portal. And so that means an extra layer, and so that meant a few technical challenges. But we tackled all those challenges. It now works perfectly, I think. And so we are very happy with the result, and just like the other thematic lots were saying, having everything now in one place is so much better than having all these different websites, because everybody I talk to in the field always mention that as the first thing. EMODnet doesn't have one face, it's not one family, and now we're there. We're one face, we're one family. So that's very great. Keep it there. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, George, and also for highlighting the fact that, of course, there are many long-standing and loyal users of EMODnet. So it was very important, I think, to all thematics for the onboarding of those existing users. There was a big communication effort internally and many months before the external communication in January of this year to, of course, update and bring on board users in this transition, and then pave the way for new users as well. That will hopefully come. So thank you very much, George. Let's move to Antonio Novellino for EMODnet Physics, please. So
thank you, Kate. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, actually, I'm seconding most of the comments that have been already done, because we have that EMODnet Physics was not built in a day. So we had, different layers, operational data, delayed mode, so a quite complex situation, and we had to face quite a lot of challenges in order to come to this common ground. But now we have this centralized system that is, as we say, the new start, and we can reach out to new stakeholders and new communities. That is quite important. No later than this morning, I was talking with some people from the Murcia Mammenor agency, and one of the key points of discussion was the importance of having a single place where users and decisors, stakeholders can find all the information at once. And when we speak about all the information of data, we are speaking about a multidisciplinary approach of the data, because when you have to deal with complex decisions, complex strategies, you need to consider different point of views, you need to integrate different data sets. And now we have a place where we can find all together. So it's really, really important for us. And on top of that, I would say that for us, physics is also another value, because usually physical data are complementary to other studies. So people that are doing other stuff can also find us in order to complete their work. So then EMODnet is up to date to face these challenges, and is also looking forward, because we are also anticipating some of the needs of the community. Moreover, as already mentioned, we have now the possibility to and use libraries from the other thematic lots and improve further the service and the tools for our own communities and users. So this is also a key, let's say, advantage that we can exploit now. Some of the key achievements, Connor said, I mean, that we have now this unified ERDAP system that is a catalog that helps improving the fairness of the data. So we were promoting this for a while, and now we are really happy that we see these new tools adopted by EMODnet in general, because it's really facilitating the fundability, accessibility, interoperability, and usability of the data. And another point that I want to stress that is also the collaboration with the sister projects and programs, because it was mentioned that we were not building from scratch. And among the others, I would like to mention the collaboration with the Copernicus Marine Service, and in particular with the In-Situ TAC. And we both are integrators. And the collaboration enables a smooth transition, a smooth use of the data for the benefit of both community and stakeholders. And now having this single place in these single portals, we do believe that our job will be also facilitated, because again, going back to the discussion I had this morning with the agency from Mar Menor, they are really keen to deliver the data, and now they can see that they can offer quite a lot of information from different disciplines towards one single place that is EMODnet, and then it's up to us to make the best use of them.
Thank you very much, Antonio. Thank you also for highlighting the interoperability, which others have touched upon as well, because this, this common metadata catalog, which now underpins all the different data and data products, and the ERDAP, which includes APIs and enables machine-to-machine readability. This is really an upgrade in terms of the EMODnet services to make it also future fit for connecting to and giving the upgraded infrastructure to deliver the digital twin ocean and other services as well. We are almost to time, so I want to reassure people that might have to leave at 5 o'clock Central Europe time that this is being recorded, so you will be able to follow the rest. And now I'd like to pass the floor to Joanna Beja from VLIS for EMODnet Biology.
I think one of the key challenges for biology was indeed to find the best way to expose our products in a way that not only complied with the guidance that was provided by the central portal team, taking into consideration all the infrastructure that was set up, but also in a way that would allow the users to be able to query the products in what we think is a simple way and extract the information that they are looking for. Alongside the products, we also have a layer that provides access to the actual data, the point data, the biological point data. Currently, we only have one option to filter that layer, which is on the taxa, but we will be adding more filters in the coming months so that the experience is improved for everyone. I guess I would like to mention that one of the advantages, even though this is a line of work that we have been developing for a few years, is that because all of the EMODnet thematic lots have OGC web services, EMODnet Biology has developed 2 R packages that allow the users to interrogate any of the thematic lots, either WCS or WFS web services, and download the data that they are looking for with just kind of, it's not a one click, but hopefully a simplified process for those that are more proficient in programming in R. I guess the way we're going to evolve now, obviously we will continue developing products, the same as Henry has said. It's not always easy to know what are the best parameters and what the different stakeholders are looking for, so that we are always trying to get information from various events where we participate to see how we can best improve our outputs to the different stakeholders. But one of the main things that we will be working on until we end our phase will be in publishing new types of data and data that are created by new instruments and new tools. So we are, biology is an ever-evolving field, so we are also accompanying that. And I think I'll leave it here.
Thank you very much, Joanna. And indeed, we very much welcome, as I think all the speakers have been saying, the feedback from the users. So please test the services, give your feedback on what works, what doesn't work in terms of the user interface, in terms of the parameters, resolution, the coverage. Each thematic has their own work plans, but nonetheless, there can be priorities made for the future to then continue expanding the services. So last but not least, we will pass to Alessandro Petito for human activities to close the coordinator interventions. So please, Alessandro.
Hi, good afternoon. I trust you can hear me well. Otherwise, please feel free to interrupt me. I think much has been said by my fellow coordinators. Their words clearly resonate with our experience. So very briefly, in terms of challenges, EMODnet human activity has always been one of a kind compared with the other thematic groups, because they all tend to be more skewed towards the scientific side of things, whereas human activities also incorporate elements of the blue economy. And for this reason, we still cater to a diversified set of users and stakeholders. And for this reason, over time, we had to develop a wide array of custom features for our map viewer to make sure that also a non-expert could extract value from EMODnet. And of course, we wanted to make sure that these custom features we developed over time were also going to be available on the central portal. And they all are, I must say. And also, to be fair, I think we should give credit for all of this to the people who actually ported and developed these custom features also to the central portal. Because as the thematic coordinator, I simply oversaw the process, but it was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And so congratulations to the people who made all of this possible. In terms of advantages, I would say that, from my experience as coordinator of EMODnet human activities, a lot of our users, for example, are MSP practitioners, but also a lot of them are from industry, offshore wind developers. And these people, and I know that for a fact because I talk to some of these people, we have use cases and some of these people are users of EMODnet human activities, but in fact, they also harvest data from all of the EMODnet portals. For obvious reasons, if you are an offshore wind developer, you're going to need data on shipping traffic, but also on the bathymetry. You may want to know something about winds, a lot more things you have to be made aware of. And yes, before it was still possible to retrieve all of this data from the different portals, but now everything is going to be a lot more straightforward, and the learning curve is certainly not as steep as it used to be. And maybe let me just wrap up with sort of a message for the future, because as long as I have been working on this project, EMODnet's always been about centralization. I saw Connor's presentation, and he offered the comparison of what EMODnet looked like before centralization and what it looks like now. And I remember I used to be giving very similar presentations when we kicked off EMODnet human activities. All the data we were offering were already there, but they were scattered across different data sources. And then EMODnet human activities came, and everything was centralized in a one-stop shop. So what are we doing now? We are doing a meta centralization. We had different thematic portals, and now they've all converged into one central portal to offer an enhanced user experience. So today we're celebrating centralization. In fact, I guess EMODnet's always been about centralizing things and make everything more easily available to anyone. So, and it's an ever-evolving process. Certainly, it's not stopped here. There's a lot more to come in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alessandro, and thank you very much to all of the panelists in this roundtable. So I'm just going to close very briefly just by inviting you all to come and visit the EMODnet portal to really experience the simplified user interface, to give us your feedback, and also to to also appreciate that behind the scenes, that there's not only been a huge technical development, as has been said by a huge network of people, but it's now a game changer in the interoperability of EMODnet. So it may be less visible to many users, but this common metadata catalog and the ERDAP and the APIs and the machine-to-machine readability is really making the EMODnet services upgraded and the infrastructure fit for delivering the marine knowledge for the mission ocean and waters, for the EU Green Deal, the digital twin ocean, and the knowledge systems that will accompany it. So I will just thank again all coordinators and all speakers as well, and pass to Jan Bart for concluding remarks.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you also from my side, all the speakers, for presenting, answering the questions and the open discussion. I'm very sure that we will have many more opportunities to dig a bit deeper into the new setup, explore what the new portal can offer to all of you, and ways to expand as well the functionalities, the coverage of the datasets and products, both in terms of scope and geographic coverage. And we had some questions about that. And so we're continuously pushing the boundaries and as an evolving operational service. And that's great. So again, we welcome very much your suggestions, ideas, and feedback. We have several options to do so through the central portal. I would like in particular to thank the central portal development team, colleagues Connor Delaney, Tim Collard from the EMODnet Secretariat, Bart van Hoorn and Fred Leclerc from the Flanders Marine Institute, and the thematic experts from the different lots. We have seen the coordinators, but behind there is an entire team of subject matter experts, and we really need to applaud for the work, the extraordinary work that they've done. It's been a truly collective achievement, and it has not been easy, testimony of what the coordinators have mentioned today, but we have succeeded, and it was important to evolve, because it's true, we are about a unified one family offer of data services, and we are here to serve the many user needs, so that's very important. I also want to recognize that we are in several ways pioneering. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that we are the first European Commission, at least from DG Mare's side, to repatriate to the EU domain. That's and many are there to follow. So we set the example, and I think we did an extraordinary job. You did. And we're also the first to integrate a set of multidisciplinary data portals at this scale. And this is really something that needs to be recognized and that should be proud of. So we will continuously continue to release guidance materials and tutorials at the various fora. We hope to also meet you. So we warmly invite you to join us at one of our upcoming events. I repeat, there is an EMODnet Open Sea Lab Hackathon in March that we very much hope to see many of you or your network. So please spread the word, and we would hope to see you live at the Open Conference towards the end of November. And watch the central portal space for any updates, and hope to see you there. So that's all from our side. Thanks a lot, speakers, and all of the participants for being with us. And we will look forward to working with you.